Welcome to the only country on earth where you can build an entire city out of gray vinyl siding, stick a $400,000 price tag on every single front door, and then look around completely baffled when nobody shows up to buy them. If you have turned on any screen in the last 3 years, you have heard the exact same mantra repeated over and over until your ears bled. There is no housing. We are out of homes. The inventory is zero. You will live in a cardboard box under an overpass and you will like it. Well, I have a fun little secret for you. That entire narrative is currently collapsing in real time across huge chunks of the American Sunbelt and West. Everyone was busy panicking about low inventory. Homebuilders were out in the desert and the swamps doing what homebuilders do best. They were pouring concrete at 3 in the morning like their lives depended on it. Right now, in dozens of metro areas across the United States, active listings are spiking by 50, 70, sometimes over 100% year over year. Entire subdivisions are sitting completely finished, pitch black at night, with pristine driveways that have literally never felt the warmth of a tire. We are witnessing the rise of the American ghost market. A place where supply is exploding, price cuts are dropping faster than a bad habit, and developers are offering free golf carts just to get anyone to sign a 30-year mortgage. So grab a cold drink, put your feet up, and let us take a tour through 18 American ghost markets where the housing party didn't just end. The neighbors called the cops and the cops showed up with a bulldozer. Before we dive into the specific cities, we need to understand the absolute madness that brought us here. For about 2 straight years, every person in Northern California and New York suddenly realized they could sell a tiny 2-bedroom closet, move to the Sunbelt, and buy a house shaped like a European castle with 3 extra guest suites they would never use. The homebuilders saw this gold rush and lost their collective minds. They started buying up cow pastures, swampland, and desert scrubs at record prices. They filed permits like they were handing out flyers on the Las Vegas Strip. But here is the funny thing about building houses. It takes time. By the time these massive master plan communities were actually finished, interest rates went from practically free to painful. The tech brothers went back to their offices, or at least got told to stop working from a pool float in Florida. The wave of buyers dried up, but the wave of new construction was already an unstoppable freight train. Now, the outsiders who bought at the absolute peak are trying to sell. The builders are trying to clear their inventory before the bank takes their lunch money, and local buyers are standing on the sidewalk watching the entire spectacle with a tub of popcorn. Let us start at number 18 and work our way down the rabbit hole. Number 18. Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome to Music City, where every second person you meet is either a full-time real estate agent, a part-time country singer, or an artisanal candle maker who somehow bought a $600,000 tall and skinny townhouse in 2021. For 5 straight years, Nashville was the absolute golden child of the American interior. If you did not move to Nashville, were you even living your best life? Active inventory in the greater Nashville area has been climbing like a rocket, with active listings bouncing up by over 40% compared to last year. You can easily find brand new construction in outer spots like Murfreesboro or Antioch sitting in the mid-400s, except now the builders are begging you to take a permanent rate buy down just to clear the block. The cultural reality of modern Nashville is that every historic neighborhood has been knocked down to build twin houses that look like modern art museums made of black metal and gray wood. You move here thinking you will hang out with acoustic guitar players, but your actual neighbor is an accountant from Ohio who bought 3 units as short-term rentals and is now losing his mind because Airbnb bookings cratered. The downside is that traffic on Interstate 24 will make you question your core life choices before you even reach the office. You are paying big city housing prices to stare at the brake lights of a Ford F-150 for an hour and a half every single morning. It turns out that building 6,000 identical tall skinny houses on a narrow street built in 1950 has a few logistical drawbacks. But hey, at least you get a rooftop deck to watch the traffic jam from above. Number 17. Northport, Florida. If you took a gigantic box of beige stucco homes, shook it up, and dumped it across 50 square miles of pine trees and drainage ditches, you would get Northport. Located down in Sarasota County, Northport was the ultimate speculative paradise during the post-pandemic Florida boom. Inventory here has spiked by well over 60% year over year, with roughly 1 out of every 3 homes currently undergoing price cuts. You can easily find single-family homes sitting in the mid-300s to low 400s range, which sounds great until you realize the builder is also offering to pay all your closing costs and throw in a kitchen appliance package. Living in Northport means your daily social life consists of driving 20 minutes down a straight road to hit a Publix grocery store, a car wash, or a medical clinic. It is suburban sprawl in its purest, most distilled form, where the local fauna consists mainly of sand cranes and aggressive lawn care crews. The catch is the quiet nightmare known as home insurance and HOA fees. You might get a reasonable deal on the purchase price, but the moment you get your annual insurance renewal quote, you will realize why the previous owner ran away as fast as humanly possible. Northport is living proof that you can build as many houses as you want in Florida, but you cannot force the insurance companies to like it. Number 16. Las Vegas, Nevada. Ah, Las Vegas. The place where people go to gamble their life savings at the craps table, or better yet, gamble their entire future on a tract house in North Las Vegas. Vegas has always been a boom and bust market, but the current expansion out into the desert sand is reaching legendary levels of optimism. Active listings in the Vegas Valley have jumped significantly, with inventory up more than 50% year over year and new permits continuing to flood out into Henderson and Summerlin. Prices for standard single-family inventory sit anywhere between $450,000 to $600,000, but seller concessions are back with a vengeance. The lifestyle appeal is obvious. You get 300 days of sunshine, no state income tax, and the ability to order a world-class steak at 3 in the morning. But the actual day-to-day reality of these outer subdivisions involves staring at a mountain of gravel and praying your central air conditioning unit does not melt during a July heat wave. The trade-off here is simple. Water supply, heat, and the fact that half your neighborhood was bought by investor groups who are currently cutting rent prices, just to keep tenants in the seats. Vegas is built on illusions, and believing that a suburban house in 40-degree heat with zero grass will appreciate 10% every single year might be the biggest gamble in the whole valley. Number 15. Austin, Texas. We cannot talk about housing explosions without paying homage to the former king of the bubble, Austin, Texas. Remember when Austin was cool, cheap, and full of weird musicians? Neither does anyone else under the age of 40. Over the last 3 years, Austin went from tech paradise to an absolute case study in overbuilding. Active inventory in the Austin metro has skyrocketed, and price cuts are practically an official city sport, with nearly 40% of listings slashing prices month after month. You can find homes in outer suburbs like Kyle, Manor, or Leander ranging from the mid-300s to $500,000, which is a massive drop from their peak hysteria levels. The vibe in Austin right now is a fascinating mix of tech brothers trying to figure out how to sell their modern farmhouses without taking a massive loss, and locals who are still waiting for breakfast tacos to go back to $3. You moved here for the music and the lake, but you spend your actual life driving on Highway 183 past endless tech parks. The trade-off is the property tax bill, which will arrive in your mailbox like a brick through a window every single year. Texas has no state income tax, but they will absolutely make up for it on the land your house sits on. Austin tries so hard to become the Silicon Valley of the South that it accidentally inherited Silicon Valley's prices, but forgot to bring the coastal weather along for the ride. Number 14. Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix is a city that looks at a desolate, sun-scorched desert valley and says, yes, this is the perfect place to drop 300,000 tile roof homes and 50 golf courses. It is one of the most prolific home building machines on the face of the earth. Inventory across the Valley of the Sun is up well over 45% compared to last year, with outer areas like Buckeye, Maricopa, and Queen Creek leading the charge in massive inventory accumulation. Starter homes that were once fighting off 20 cash offers are now sitting for 60, 90, or 100 days in the high 300s to mid 400s range. Living in outer Phoenix means you spend 6 months of the year moving from your air-conditioned house to your air-conditioned car to your air-conditioned office, occasionally looking at a cactus through a window. It is clean, organized, and perfectly grid-aligned, which is great if you love predictability and hate character. The obvious downside is the sheer physical scale of the place. If you buy a cheap house on the outer edge, your commute to actual economic activity will take so long that you will need to refuel your car midway through the journey. Phoenix is proof that human beings can conquer the desert, provided we have unlimited electric power, cheap drywall, and a total disregard for sensible urban planning. Number 13. Cape Coral, Florida. If Northport is the capital of beige stucco, Cape Coral is the world champion of canal front grid systems. This entire city was basically designed in the 1950s by developers who drew thousands of canals on a piece of paper and so lost through the mail to people living in snowy Midwestern cities. Cape Coral is currently drowning in inventory, with active listings surging by over 70% year over year and price cuts hitting record levels. You can easily spot single-family homes hovering between $350,000 and $500,000. Many of which have been sitting on the market longer than it took to build them. The lifestyle promise is living the Florida waterfront dream, where you can park your boat behind your house and jet off into the Gulf of Mexico. The reality is that half of these canals take 45 minutes of idling at 5 miles per hour just to reach open water, while your neighbor blasts country music from his patio. The catch here is a lethal combination of post-hurricane insurance spikes, soaring assessment fees for city utility connections, and a massive flood of new construction competing for a shrinking pool of buyers. Cape Coral is an amazing place to live if you love water, but you better make sure your wallet is as deep as the canals you are sitting next to. Number 12. Tampa, Florida. Tampa used to be the sensible alternative to Miami. You got the sunshine, the bay, and reasonable housing prices without having to drive a Lamborghini or pretend to care about art galleries. Then the entire country discovered it at the same time, and builders went into overdrive in outer areas like Pasco and Hernando counties. Active inventory in the greater Tampa market has climbed by more than 50% YoY, with a huge surplus of homes clustering in outer developments like Wesley Chapel and Riverview. Prices in these suburban rings linger between $400,000 and $600,000, but price cuts are as common as afternoon thunderstorms. The Tampa lifestyle involves great Cuban sandwiches, beautiful water views, and spending 3 hours trying to cross the Howard Franklin Bridge on a Friday afternoon. The new developments offer shiny clubhouses and resort-style pools, but they are all packed tightly together along 2-lane roads that were designed for farm tractors in 1970. The trade-off is that you are paying top-dollar prices to live in a master-planned community that is 45 minutes away from the actual beach, surrounded by 3,000 identical houses built by the exact same developer. Tampa is a great market, but watching builders offer $50,000 incentive packages just to move a townhouse tells you everything you need to know about where supply is headed. Number 11. Raleigh, North Carolina. Welcome to the Research Triangle, where every person you meet has a master's degree, works in biotech, and wants to explain to you why North Carolina is objectively the best state in the union. Raleigh and its neighboring suburbs experienced a massive influx of remote workers, and the housing market responded by building relentlessly. Inventory in the Raleigh-Durham area has surged over 40% year over year, with towns like Clayton, Fuquay-Varina, and Garner seeing huge clusters of new homes sitting on the market. Prices for single-family homes hover in the mid-400s to $600,000 range, but sales velocity has slowed to a crawl. The lifestyle in Raleigh is exceptionally comfortable. You get 4 distinct seasons, trees everywhere, and a booming economy full of steady jobs. But the charm of the area gets a bit watered down when every single new residential area looks like a carbon copy of the one 3 miles down the road. The downside is that you are buying into a market where land is abundant in every single direction. Unlike coastal cities bounded by ocean, Raleigh can expand outward forever, which means your home appreciation is always competing with the brand new Phase 5 development happening right next door. It is a fantastic place to raise a family, assuming you do not mind your kid accidentally walking into the wrong identical house on their way home from school. Number 10. San Antonio, Texas. San Antonio has always been the quieter, more practical big brother to Austin's flashier, tech-obsessed younger sibling. It is a city built on military bases, tourism, and massive suburban expansion to the north and west. Because land is essentially unlimited, builders in San Antonio never stop. Active listings in San Antonio have surged by well over 35% year over year, with some outer zip codes seeing inventory numbers that look like typos. You can easily land a spacious single-family house in the high 200s to mid-300s, making it one of the most affordable big markets on this list, but the sheer volume of choices is staggering. The vibe in San Antonio is relaxed, culturally rich, and heavily centered around family, food, and air conditioning. But if you buy a home in the far west side out near Loop 1604, your primary cultural experience will be navigating endless construction zones and strip malls. The trade-off here is simple. Supply is so high that home equity growth moves at the speed of a sleepy turtle. You buy a house in San Antonio to live in it, not to treat it like a day trading account. It is an honest market. But if you expect your tract home on former pasture land to double in value in 3 years, I have a bridge over the river walk to sell you. Are you enjoying this tour of suburban absurdity? If you are living in one of these explosion zones right now, do me a favor and drop a comment below, letting me know how many price cut signs you passed on your drive to work today. And while you are down there, hit that like button so the algorithm knows we're having a good time. Now back to the madness. Number 9. Jacksonville, Florida. Jacksonville is geographically the largest city in the contiguous United States, mostly because it simply ate its surrounding county and never stopped growing outward. If there is a patch of land with dirt and trees near Jacksonville, a developer has already drawn up plans for a 400-unit subdivision with a fake pond in the middle. Active inventory in Jacksonville has jumped by over 50% compared to last year, with massive clusters of new homes sitting in areas like St. Johns County and North Jacksonville. Prices generally land between $350,000 and $500,000, but builders are tossing around rate buy-downs like candy at a parade. The lifestyle offers proximity to the ocean, decent weather, and a slightly lower cost of living than South Florida. But because the city is so spread out, living in Jacksonville feels less like living in a unified city and more like living in 6 different suburbs connected by high-speed highways. The catch is that new construction is competing directly with a wave of investor-owned properties that are hitting the market simultaneously. When both builders and landlord funds are trying to exit at the exact same time, prices only go one direction. Jacksonville is proof that being the biggest city by land area just means you have more room to overbuild than almost anyone else. Number 8. Boise, Idaho. Boise was the absolute epicenter of the pandemic housing fever dream. In 2021, people were buying homes in Boise sight unseen, paying $100,000 over asking price just to escape coastal cities and live near mountains and potatoes. Then the music stopped, and the hangover hit hard. Inventory in the Boise metro area, particularly out in Meridian and Caldwell, has risen dramatically, with active listings up over 40% year over year. Homes that were priced in the mid-600s during the mania have pulled back into the 400s and 500s, with price cuts littered across every real estate portal. The lifestyle in Boise is legitimately fantastic if you love the outdoors. You can ski, hike, and float down the river, all within a short drive. But the economic reality of the local job market never quite matched the astronomical house prices driven by out-of-state cash buyers. The trade-off is that local wages simply cannot support peak housing prices, and the wave of California equity that fueled the boom has slowed to a trickle. Boise is still a great place to live, but the days of turning a suburban house in Idaho into an infinite money glitch are officially in the rearview mirror. Number 7. Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas. The DFW Metroplex is not just a housing market. It is a sovereign nation of master-planned communities, toll roads, and high school football stadiums that cost $50 million. If you give a Texas developer a tractor and a square mile of flat land, they will build 2,000 homes before you can finish your lunch. Active inventory in the DFW region has climbed over 45% year over year, with outer suburbs like Salina, Melissa, and Forney leading the charge in massive inventory growth. Prices range anywhere from $350,000 to $600,000, but builders are offering massive concessions to keep sticker prices looking elevated. Living in outer DFW means your life revolves around the toll road network. You will pay $8 a day just to drive to a mega grocery store and back, while admiring identical stone and brick facades as far as the eye can see. The catch, once again, is property taxes and maintenance. When you buy a brand new house on a prairie, you are also paying into special taxing districts created to build the roads and sewers you're driving on. DFW is an incredible economic engine, but when builders drop 10,000 new homes on the market every single quarter, buyers actually get to stand their ground for once. Number 6. Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta is a city buried inside a forest, surrounded by an outer ring of suburbs that stretches halfway to the Tennessee border. The Atlanta market saw massive investor buying over the last 4 years, with Wall Street funds buying up entire neighborhoods to convert them into single-family rentals. Now, with inventory up over 45% year over year across the metro area, the dynamic is shifting rapidly. Outer hubs like Gwinnett County, Henry County, and Cherokee County are seeing long lists of active inventory in the mid-$300,000 to $500,000 range. The Atlanta lifestyle is all about culture, incredible food, and deep leafy green neighborhoods. But the suburban reality is spending 2 hours stuck on Interstate 285 listening to podcasts while your engine idles in 85-degree heat. The downside here is that investor activity created an artificial vacuum of supply that has now completely filled up. As rental rates flatten out and small-time landlords try to cash out, thousands of existing homes are competing directly with brand-new builder inventory. Atlanta will always grow, but right now, there are more houses on the shelf than there are people willing to sign a 7% mortgage to buy them. Number 5. Charlotte, North Carolina. Charlotte is the banking capital of the South, a city engineered for maximum efficiency, clean streets, and corporate headquarters. It attracted thousands of young professionals seeking a cheaper life than New York or Washington, and homebuilders were more than happy to accommodate them. Inventory in the Charlotte metro area has climbed by over 50% year over year, particularly in outer areas like Cabarrus and Gaston counties, as well as south into South Carolina. Prices sit primarily in the $400,000 to $600,000 range, with builder incentives becoming standard operating procedure. Living in Charlotte means clean craft breweries, uptown financial towers, and pristine suburban subdivisions with manicured lawns. It is extremely polished, but sometimes feels like it was designed by a corporate committee using a spreadsheet. The trade-off is that Charlotte's surrounding topography allows for relentless expansion. Every time a neighborhood reaches maturity, 3 more open up 10 minutes further down the road, capping long-term price inflation for standard tract housing. It is a solid, stable place to build a life, but buying a house here expecting guaranteed 10% annual gains is a fast track to disappointment. Number 4. Orlando, Florida. Welcome to the land of Mickey Mouse tourist traffic and endless fields of concrete townhomes built specifically for investors to market as short-term vacation rentals. Orlando's housing market is a complex web of local residential areas and massive speculative tourist hubs. Active inventory in the Orlando region has surged by over 60% year-over-year, with areas like Osceola County and Davenport seeing huge pileups of unsold homes. Prices vary widely, but standard suburban inventory sits between $350,000 and $550,000, with heavy price cuts across both new and existing homes. The lifestyle in Orlando consists of endless sunshine, theme parks, and navigating around rental cars driven by exhausted tourists trying to find a highway exit. If you live in the speculative vacation zones, your neighbors change every 3 days and carry rolling suitcases at 6 in the morning. The catch is that the short-term rental market has taken a serious hit as travel patterns normalized and inflation squeezed family vacation budgets. Thousands of owners who thought they were buying a passive cash flow machine are now realizing they just bought an expensive suburban home with high HOA fees. Orlando proves that building thousands of vacation homes for people who do not actually live there works great until those people decide to spend their vacation somewhere else. Number 3. Houston, Texas. Houston is a city that famously operates without traditional zoning laws, which means you can build a high-rise condo right next to a tire shop, which sits right next to a single-family subdivision. It is the ultimate free market housing experiment, and it builds homes at a scale that makes other cities look like amateur hour. Inventory across the vast Houston metro area has climbed by more than 40% year-over-year, with outer master plan developments in Katy, Cypress, and Conroe adding thousands of homes to the market. Prices for solid single-family homes sit comfortably in the $300,000 to $450,000 range, making it remarkably affordable compared to national averages. The lifestyle in Houston offers world-class dining, incredible diversity, and a thriving job market fueled by energy, medical, and shipping industries. But the physical reality of the city involves extreme humidity, flat landscapes, and driving 40 minutes to get anywhere you want to go. The trade-off is that zero zoning laws plus endless land means supply can always rise to meet demand. You will almost never face a structural housing shortage in Houston because builders will simply pave over another field 50 miles outside town. Houston is a fantastic place for buyers who want space and value, but it is a terrible place for anyone trying to treat a standard suburban house like a scarce collectible item. Number 2. Lakeland, Florida. Positioned directly in the middle of the I-4 corridor between Tampa and Orlando, Lakeland was once a quiet town known for citrus groves, lakes, and logistics warehouses. During the Florida rush, it became the overflow valve for both major cities, leading to an absolute explosion of residential construction. Active inventory in the Lakeland area has skyrocketed by well over 70% year-over-year, with active listings sitting at levels not seen in over a decade. Prices range from the high 200s to the mid 400s, with builders dropping prices and offering massive finance packages to get buyers through the door. Living in Lakeland gives you a central location and a slower pace of life, but your daily drive involves tackling the Interstate 4 corridor, which is widely considered by traffic scientists to be one of the most frustrating stretches of highway in North America. The downside is that Lakeland's massive housing push was heavily reliant on buyers priced out of Tampa and Orlando. As those primary markets cool off and accumulate their own inventory, the spillover demand into Lakeland has dried up rapidly, leaving a huge surplus of brand-new homes standing in former orange groves. Lakeland is the ultimate example of what happens when you build for the absolute fringe of a housing boom, just as the boom comes to an abrupt halt. Number 1. Port St. Lucie, Florida, and here we are at number 1. The undisputed heavyweight champion of the Florida supply boom, Port St. Lucie, located on the Treasure Coast. This city was built from the ground up to be a sprawling residential sleeping community for retirees, remote workers, and families fleeing higher prices down south in Miami and Broward County. Active inventory in Port St. Lucie has exploded by over 80% year-over-year, with massive master-planned communities like Tradition dumping thousands of new construction units into the market simultaneously. Prices hover between $350,000 and $550,000, but price cuts and builder concessions are practically mandatory to close a deal today. The lifestyle in Port St. Lucie is quiet, safe, and heavily residential. There's no real traditional downtown. Instead, you get pristine winding suburban streets, strip centers with clean grocery stores, and quick access to the beach if you are willing to drive over the bridge. The catch here is total market saturation. When an entire local economy is built primarily on residential real estate and retail service, any pullback in buyer demand leaves the market holding a massive surplus of inventory with very few organic local industries to absorb it. Port St. Lucie built a paradise of suburban comfort, but right now it has built way more paradise than the current market knows what to do with. When you look at all 18 of these markets, a very clear pattern emerges. The American housing market is not a single monolith where everything is scarce and prices only go up forever. It is a fragmented jigsaw puzzle. While older coastal cities might still be locked up with zero inventory, the Sunbelt and West have built a massive wall of supply that is finally bringing reality back to the table. This does not mean these cities are going to zero or that the world is ending tomorrow. What it means is that the fever has broken. The days of putting a sign in the yard, taking 3 photos with a flip phone, and getting 20 cash offers over asking price within 2 hours are officially over in these areas. Buyers actually have leverage again. They can ask for home inspections. They can demand price cuts. They can tell builders to pay for their mortgage rate buy-downs. The real question moving forward is simple. Will interest rates come down fast enough to absorb this massive ocean of new homes? Or are homebuilders and investors going to have to keep cutting prices until normal people earning normal local wages can actually afford them again? What do you think? Are these markets just taking a temporary breather before the next big boom? Or are we looking at the start of a multi-year price correction across the Sunbelt? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let us have a real debate about it. Until next time, stay safe, keep your eyes on the data, and do not buy a house built on swampland just because the developer threw in a free pair of lawn chairs.